Greetings, 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 family. This is another report from the Melanin Report 360, the Melanin Report 360, the Melanin Report 360. Like, share, follow, subscribe, like, share, follow, subscribe, like, share, follow, and subscribe. So thank you so much for tuning back in. I am your hostess, Deanne. I hope you all had a wonderful party to celebrate uh, the, I guess it was obvious, but the conviction. Let me go ahead and read my fair use disclaimer so I can dot my I's and cross my T's. And so, yeah, because, private media or sourcing from YouTube or other places, we just want to make sure that we are following all of the rules so we can remain active and live, and so we don't have any interruptions, going forward. So that's why I'm doing this. Okay, so copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So thank you so much for that. So yeah, I think it was an obvious case. I was a little irritated that it was taking so long because in my mind, it was open and shut. And I thought taxpayers, that was a lot of money. And I just didn't know how he could have a defense on that. The pig Chauvin. I didn't even understand why it was, it seemed like it was dragging out forever because I was just amazed. And I was even more amazed with our reaction. Our reaction, I just came back from LA Fitness, so this is my workout attire. I didn't have a chance to go in the shower, so I'm just coming right in from LA Fitness, so I do recognize that I am running to the shower as soon as I finish up this report. So with that said, I was just surprised that we were elated, as we should be. I think it was an open and shut case, and I know the history in this country, and so we have to take our the accolades when we get them. It was undeniable facts. Young lady, thank goodness she recorded it. I think it would have been up in the air if that video had not surfaced, and she turned it over, and it was just that. Now, if that let's just say there wasn't a video, that would have been a tougher case. But that young lady is probably traumatized for perhaps the rest of her life. But to watch someone die like that, and she didn't even have if anyone just rolled up on them and saw that, that was just like stunning. And that was a cowardly act on his part. And I want to say it wasn't even human. I'm going to say it wasn't human. That was an inhumane act. And that's how we should see it. That's how it was. And so I hope he gets the maximum. That's the other thing. Now we got to get to sentencing. I think there's a minimum perhaps for each charge. So it could be maybe 25 years, maybe 30 years. I don't know if it's a life sentence. I think he's in his 40s. So I'm not recommending violence, of course, at any level, even though he took a life, I think a life for a life. But with that said, I think the scale will be balanced whenever he gets in the actual population, general population. I don't think he's going to have a Michael Cohen type of protection. I think he will be, as he should, be in the public access. So the fact that George Floyd, you know, was killed over $20, alleged $20, that's sad. His life wasn't even worth $20. It's sad. So we were, elated, as we should be, but it just shows you what we're up against in this country, that we were holding our breath and, doing whatever, like up in prayer. Even the brother of um, Mr. Floyd, he couldn't even, listen to it. It was like, oh my gosh, because we are just so paralyzed in this country, and the reaction to the treatment in this country, and when it's in the hands of the law and now into the system of justice, usually we walk away empty handed. No, I'm not saying that no, I am saying this has been customary, usual and customary treatment. When there is a conviction, people walk away. Police officers walk away. And they were going back and forth with the Rodney King. And I remember Rodney King, I think I may have just moved to Atlanta. I think it was in the early 90s, maybe. I have to look it up. But was fresh in my memory of, I don't even know where the camera came from, but I don't know if it was a dash cam. I don't know. But they showed that man, he died a little bit recent. I think he passed maybe a year or two ago. He was probably kind of in my age group, or a little older. He might have been in my brother's age group. But this man endured 10, or I don't even remember the number. Let's just say 5. I think it was 5. 5, 5, I'm not even going to say officers. 5, because when you treat people like they're animals, you're an animal. So I'm going to say the animals. I think there were 5 animals and with badges. And I believe it was like 15, 20 minutes. I don't even know how they eventually did not continue to beat him with the baton. I just don't know. But they all walked. So we were referencing that, of saying, okay, is justice going to be served? But now we had the video, we had testimony after testimony after testimony. We were still holding our breath. And that's the saddest part. That should have been an open and shut case, period. I mean, it couldn't have been any clearer in the video. If you just played the video, it would have been like, had he thrown himself on the mercy of the court, he was arrogant enough to write. That's what I noticed as a writer. He was writing the entire time during I didn't see a time that he did not write. So that's showing the disconnect. And I wish in closing arguments they could have brought that up, but obviously they didn't have to. That was a rudeness in and of itself, not even listening. You're writing and you're hearing, but if you're close, you're in the midst of writing, you can't have 2 energies going the same time. He was more writing versus listening. He's going to be listening soon in prison. So thank ancestors, because I think I spoke to someone recently, and she said, this country would have been burning down, had it not gone that way. Because I think with the what am I trying to say? With everything that's going on with COVID and this and that and the other, it's like I ain't got nothing to lose. And they, even out here, Phoenix would have been, burning down perhaps. So they did the right thing. I think the jury, I don't know if it was, I don't know if they had an inside track of saying we've got to get this guy, convicted and blah, blah, blah. I want to believe that they needed to do the right thing. And you could not listen to that. You could not watch that video and not have empathy. And the fact that he didn't have that, that's just a mere human, because you come here with two legs and two hands, and if you're fortunate, and a body, that's just the least if you have empathy. He had already, I didn't even understand, because he was already handcuffed. See, that's how, he was already handcuffed. He could have just been thrown in the back of the squad car, take his behind to, and let them deal with it, with the processing and all that. Let the courts deal with it. But he had to die, unfortunately, for perhaps some change. I don't know if Biden, I don't know his crime bill, I don't know if that was Biden. Was it Biden or Clinton? Whichever one. But with the crime bill, that turned the level of 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. I think that's what it was called. Anyway, we definitely have some work to do in this country in terms of police reform, police reform, police reform. Because the mere fact that it was, a nail biter for most, I just didn't even think it was a nail biter, because I was like, if this guy gets off and they don't charge him with anything, and I was like, it happened. In my mind, I couldn't even imagine that. I couldn't even imagine that. So I'm glad of the verdict. I hope he gets the maximum. I think the judge is going to, come up with that. But even if it's 20, 25, 30 years, he has that much time to think about what he did, to think about what life he took, and the whole family. And I have a very small family. My family's like this big. But if he had cousins and nephews and this and that, and he had children, I think he had 5 children, 4 children. So he had a huge family, and they were front and center. Thank goodness they were front and center, and it was a long haul. Almost a year to the date. It's, yeah, right at a year. I think it happened in May around Memorial Day. He left a young daughter, and she spoke it into existence, because she said, "My dad will change the world." And perhaps if these bills are passed, um, if they pass, I will say kudos to Biden for turning the corner on the crime bill that I believe he initiated in during the Senate time. So he can make a wrong right. So this is sad, because we were really, really holding our breath. I talked to a few people, and, called me, and, we were talking about it yesterday. And a lot of people were like, I didn't know which way it was going to go. I don't know about this country, because I know what we've been around, up against. And I'm like, well, yeah, this was front and center. If you didn't convict this guy, of all people, this was front and center. Because at least Rodney King didn't, I mean, his injuries could have caused death, but he, did not. I think he died like a year ago or a year and a half ago. But his injuries did not result in death, thank goodness. But this time, this guy, I think he's an animal because I mean, I didn't understand why he had to just inflict. And that I can imagine because the organs probably shut down in those 9 minutes, and when he went, like, he was still had his knee on his neck. He was already dead, like probably 7 minutes, maybe. I think that's what came out. I didn't watch the whole um I didn't watch the whole case, but I think he was already dead. By the time the paramedics got there, that's the other thing. He did not allow the paramedics to, try to get him back. So that was evil. If there's any man that is evil, Derek Chauvin, that is the evil man, and the fact that he was writing, that pissed me off. That was, oh my God, that just enraged me. I just couldn't even watch it. It was like, why is he writing? Why is he writing? I think that was not a good practice for his attorney to see that. He probably would have said, oh no, you should not do that because it shows a disconnect. It literally shows a disconnect from the case, from any wrongdoing. He's kind of like the white male and in privilege mode, and which they get in and they come here with. Not all of them, but I'm going to say majority of them. They know they have privilege, and no matter what, if they are poor trash or if they're executive, they have the same energy. I'm a white male, you know. So I was surprised that we were, had to exhale, as Toni, what's the lady that wrote the book? Not Toni Morrison. No. Perry. Anyway, I'm trying to, I gotta eat. I know I have to eat. So this is the lady who wrote the all the books back in the 90s, late 90s, early 90s. So I can see her face. I can see her face. But anyway, we had to exhale, just thinking that there could not or would not be a conviction. So thank you for ancestors. Thank you for, protecting that family and giving them the victory. And now we get sentencing probably 8 weeks, probably by midsummer or maybe early summer. So we'll see. So with all of that said, right around the corner, it was another incident with a fatal shooting. I think it was Ohio. So apparently, the young lady called from her cell phone. There was a kerfuffle, and they came out, and she was killed. I think the young lady who initiated the call, I think 15-year-old, 15 years on this planet. So I don't want to be insensitive right now because I'm not that kind of person. But what I'm saying to you, what information do we have that says the police are a friend in general? What information do we have that let we know that, oh, we can call the police? What information, what data? If we call the police, what are statistics? I know we have above average intelligence. I know that. You're looking at one. I'm not looking at you, but I'm sure on the other end, you are also, you have a big black brain, perhaps. But what I'm saying to you It's stunning that we feel police, police, call the police, call the police. That is hands down lethal, lethal. I had an incident before I moved in my condominium, and I was in the area that was a little questionable. I was over there for 3 years. I've been up here 5 years. Um, but like I may have mentioned this before. So I had a Caucasian friend. We used to work together. The company I worked out here when I first moved out here the first time, that was in 2007. And so we kept in contact, and come to find out, we were living, when I moved back, we were living maybe 5, 10 miles away, you know. And I had an incident at my home, my townhome that I was renting, and someone threw a rock in the glass and broke the glass and all like that. Okay, so that was an incident that required the police, because I had a police report, blah 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 blah. So my Caucasian friend, I had her come to bear witness to the exchange with the police. I'm not, you know, I've got a lot of good marbles in my brain. So I know what to do and what not to do. And that was, I mean, she probably would have done it anyway. I called her and said, "Hey, what you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. And she was literally like 5 or 10 minutes. It was really close. We were really not too far from each other. I'm going to say maybe 4 miles from each other. And this was way before COVID, way, 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 way before COVID. And so she came and waited, police came. So there would be no issue. Issue. I don't have that kind of energy anyway. So I just wanted to make sure everything would be on the up and up. It was. The police report was filed, no problem. But you don't know. You don't know. In this country, you don't know if that officer has been psychologically evaluated, chances are not. So when they see a sea of black folks out of control, pow, pow, pow. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm being very sensitive. But we have to do our part. We know if you look at last year, let's just say the last 10, let's say 12 years, or let's just say 10 years. 10 years. So from 2010 to 2020. Don't we have enough information about police and black people? Don't we see that? Do we see that? Or we just, police are my friend. Let me call the police officer. Mm-mm. It's really hot out here. It is about 90. There's a little humidity out there too. It's about 90, 92 right now. It's really hot. So I just want us to be smart. Some things you can work it, let's just step away. If she had just stepped away, it was a knife. She didn't have a gun. No one had a gun. Guess what? Somebody was killed. I believe she was killed. The young lady who initiated the call. This is Ohio. It may have been Cleveland or Columbus. I think Columbus. We have to do our part. We cannot. When police officers come, they don't have a mindset of a taser. They don't have that mindset. They see black folks out of control, melanated people out of control, whatever's going on. They're not trying to separate them, use a billy club. I think they still have billy, or maybe not. They may not have billy club. I know they had those back in the day in Brooklyn. So you might get a couple of knocks on the head if you were out of line, but you lived. it wasn't intention to kill. It was not the goal. Like I said, 70s. That was my period of childhood, 70s and early 80s, obviously. But that was the goal. That was not the goal. Excuse me. That was not the goal to have somebody get, be taken away in a body bag. That was not the agenda. The agenda is now. That is the agenda now. We must. It's imperative for us to connect all of the dots. I would not have called the police in that incident. I would have separated them, pulled that young lady off of whatever was going on, separate them, put one in the house, the other one, talk to them. They didn't have the ability to try and, oh, woo, 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 let's figure this out. Police, this is what I'm saying. Police are not coming to figure this out, get everyone separated. No, everything is going to be fine. Let's talk to Shaniqua over here and Priscilla over there. I'm saying the name. That is not what they do in our community. That's what they do, because we know January 6th, there was so much restraint. Are you kidding me? There was tons of restraint. So we know they know how to do that. We know that they are trained. If they see melanated people have any excuse, pow, pow, pow. That's what we get. We don't get, oh, let's separate them. We don't get social workers. We don't get social work. If they knew a social worker in the community, that's why it's important to know who's living around you. If you have a I think out here we have non-emergency, and then we have emergency, police. I'm sure that's the case in most communities, if not. Well, this is a major city, but I believe we have, when I go down the list, there's non-emergency, like it's not life or death. And then you have 911. So we have alternative numbers depending on what's going on. So why don't we have 24-hour counselors that would be able to deal with this? That would be an awesome thing to have, instead of asking questions later. We cannot afford to lose another Black-brown body. Don't you agree? We cannot afford to lose gun violence of any kind, especially from the police. We pick up the phone. We feel somehow, some way they are our friend. There are a couple of good police, absolutely. I mean, I've had some incidents out here, nothing deadly, obviously, but it just boggles my mind of practices. So we should know that if there was some elders around, put the phone down. Don't call the police. Somebody should have schooled her, perhaps, to not call the police. The parents around, they could have separated those children or whatever was going on. I wasn't there, obviously, but at all costs, we have to call the police at all times. Is there something else we can do? Is there something else we can do? Have we statistically know that police people, they see melanin on our skin? And like I said, they didn't tase her. They could have tased those children. That's not what the mindset is when they see our people. Because when they see people who look like them, chances are they have so much restraint. January 6th. If you go back to your mind, January 6th was clear cut. You have a clear cut example of how they get down with the police stuff. If you don't know anything else about this country, if you saw whatever it's called, the uprising, whatever they call it, if you have a video, you can watch that video like a day. It was on TV all day, it seemed like. And they was going up to the Capitol and blah, blah, blah. I mean, they were marching and went to the Capitol, you know, and they had so much restraint because the majority of, there was a few, you know, Africans, I saw some Africans, African Americans in the mix, very few, but we do not have friends in the police house, the police station. These are not our friends. You cannot say, oh, I have a friend in the police. I mean, you could, but they are still under the Blue Lives Matter. And the only thing they see, black and brown bodies, they're not going to pick the taser. They're going to shoot the gun. And now there's a funeral that's going to be, I guess it just happened. I think it was yesterday or the day before. So again, another black child killed by the police. We call the police. That's what I'm saying. We cannot afford to call the police. I'm not trying to say, you know, accident, something obvious. Something obvious, definitely. It's not going to be, you know, we call, okay, yes, but with what went down, someone with a knife or whatever, where are the parents? Where are the parents? You know, what could have happened that you had to have the police engaged? Anyway, I had to say something about that because I was like, don't we get it? The police, we don't have friends in the police station. We do not have that data. We don't have any statistical numbers that says, oh, police treat, you know, black and brown people fairly. No. In fact, I remember I had a conversation with someone, white male, probably in my age, right in my age group. And I think I shared before, um, he was suspicion of DUI. And they, he told me front and center, like one day I think I was at work and we, you know, I don't know what happened, but he kind of brought it up. So he was suspicion of DUI. So what they did, he was able to, they moved his car off the median or whatever was going on. They took him to, they didn't book him. They took him to the station and let him sleep it off. Mm-hmm. You heard what I said. They let him sleep it off, and then they took him back to his vehicle, and he went home. See, this is what, you know, if I hadn't heard it with my own 2 ears, and I just, wow. We live in two Americas, don't we get this? We don't call the police about some social matters that could have been resolved with you know, parents or whatever. You know, the parents should have been engaged, or even if the parents weren't home, an elder, you know, someone in my age group or whatever, get those children off of each other. Go in your house, You see what I mean? There'd be no funeral that they're planning. So you know, that's all I have today. But you know, victory at one level, but sadness again at the other. We have to be very, very mindful of contacting the police. It's sad to say, it's still happening. It's still happening. So we have to do our due diligence, to be mindful. Why are we calling the police when it's something, if there was some brothers there, they could have separate those girls. A knife is not going to kill somebody, unless we know you can. But in that moment, get one off, get the other one off, separate them, that would have been better than calling the police. We have too much data to say, should we call the police? I don't think so. I don't think so. This is not minor. I mean, this is minor. It's not major because they know how to shoot and kill. They didn't shoot her in the leg. Probably could have survived. They shot her probably up in here in the torso area. So I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not saying, it's wrong or bad. They did what they did with the mindset they have, unfortunate. But we must connect the dots. We must not put another Black child, Black boy, Black girl, grown man, Black. We know we have data. We know we have data. We know we have data. We know. Don't call the police unless it's life or death. 15-year-old, I would have gotten her, even if I got cut with a knife. What was that? Not knife. I mean, a few stitches, if that. I'm still alive. I mean, this is where we are. We're still at war. Don't think that this Chauvin victory against Chauvin is a victory for 100% of Black and brown people. Don't be fooled. We're still in the trenches. We are still dealing with the beast. So one victory, don't let one victory. We are still Black in America. And again, they did not expect us to survive. The fact that we have survived and thriving, blah, 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 millionaires, billionaires, that's like, how did that happen? We know what we did to their people, what their ancestors went. We know what we did. But here we are, homeowners, publishers, book writers. So just take a break, take a step back and look at it. Just make sure, is this an urgent matter that the police don't need to be called at every turn. Believe me, a lot of people are still here because the police were not called. When they are called, chances are somebody's leaving in a body bag. And that's all I'm saying. Especially if you bring the crew don't look like you, somebody's gonna leave in a body bag. And they have you call the police. So hey, that's what's on tap. You call the police. I initiated the call the police. So this young lady called the police, and it's sad, but okay. So that's all I have. Have a wonderful Wednesday. I hope you all stay safe. I saw Biden this morning. That's another conversation we'll talk about tomorrow, maybe, about the COVID-19. But stay safe, be well. Like, share, subscribe, follow. Like, share, subscribe, follow. Like, share, subscribe, follow. The Melanin Report 360. I'm your hostess, Deanne. I look forward to reading your comments. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful evening. Peace. Take care.